director here at Hope Community Church. This is my friend Melissa Bell. She is joining me today for ParentHub Live, partly because she's my friend and said yes. And the other reason I invited her is because I love knowing a lot about her life as a parent. Is there anything else about you we should know?
No, I'm a mom to 4 kids. We have a blended family, so we keep life exciting.
Yeah.
And I lead women's ministry at Hope, so if you don't know me, you should come to a women's event. Unless you're a guy, don't do that. Go to the men's event.
In case we forget to mention it later, are there women's events coming up right now?
Yes, our classes are starting September 12th, October 9th, and we have an amazing women's conference with 3 great speakers on October 5th, and we have brunch because we're ladies, so we need some brunch.
I love brunch. Where do they go to find out more information about that?
Gethope.net/women.
All right, we normally do the announcements at the end, but I was afraid we would forget that. Today we are coming at you to talk about how we all struggle as parents with the what ifs. We struggle with regret, both regret about things that have already happened, the way that we handled certain situations. Maybe we got upset with our kids and did something ridiculous, like threw a cheeseburger against the wall. Maybe that was just me. I don't know. I'm sure you have some stories like that, things that you wish you hadn't done, little meltdowns. You know, sometimes a good mommy freak out can change the climate, but what we like to see is that we actually handle those things with great stability and being steady in all our interactions with our kids. If you, as you are watching this, have ideas about ways that you have shown tremendous self-control and being really, really steady so that you wouldn't end up in a situation saying or doing something that you regret in the life of your kid, then please share that. Lots of other parents are going to be logging in, maybe not right now, but later on, and we can all benefit from each other's tips, the things that we've tried in our kids' lives, and so we would love to hear those from you. Everyone wins when we get better together. So let us know who you are, where you're watching from, and there might be a little prize in it for you that we will go into more detail about at the end.
Don't you think we should have like a whole stream of mommy fails too? Like parent freakouts?
We love mommy fails.
Parent freakouts. Don't be mommy fails.
Dads, we know you fail at things, so come on, out with the failures. We need to feel like we need to feel better about ourselves. But without any further ado, there's a couple of things that we feel like you should know because we've had to learn them the hard way. And so you're getting a little bit of this out of mine and Melissa's personal experience. And so I would have to say that if I've got any regrets as a parent, they come from generally one source, and that is out of my fear of what have I caused, what have I created, or my fear about what is to come based on what I've done or what I said or what I didn't even know that I didn't know. Would you say that that's been true for you as well?
I do love that because you don't know what you don't know, and then when you know it, you're a little wiser, and you might act a little differently.
And you wish you would have known it way before.
That's right.
And so there's some things that we feel like we want you to walk away with, and so 3 of those things are some hard realities that we all have to face in order to get ahead of the regret or in order to compensate for regrets that we already had. Here's a bottom line though. Regret is a waste of time, a total waste. Spending your time trying to figure out what you could do to fix what's happened in the past, it's not going to work. There's no reason to stay and linger there. It's all about moving forward. And then worrying about the what ifs or what's coming ahead, that's a waste of time too, because you can't know what that's going to be. If you are somebody who is a follower of Jesus and you trust in God's sovereignty, then you know that he has all those outcomes in his control anyway. So with that in mind, let's go over a couple of things real fast, some hard realities that you need to hear and you need to be able to own and be okay with. The first is that no matter how hard you try, you're never going to be enough to be everything that your kid needs.
Oh, yeah.
If you could be enough, then they wouldn't need a savior. If you were enough, they wouldn't need a rescuer. There's only one hero in the Bible, and it wasn't you. And it wasn't me, and it wasn't Melissa. And so the first thing you need to know is that you're not enough. Melissa, why don't you cover the second right here?
So your imagination is too small. You have no idea what God has in store for your children, let alone your life. And so I think sometimes we have created this path for our children, maybe as a path that we wish we would have went on, or you want your kid to be the best ball player, or you think they're going to be a CEO of a company, and that is not how they're wired. That's not how God wired them. And it can be disappointing if they're not doing exactly what you think they're supposed to do. But the truth is, if we don't allow them to live in the beauty and in the creation that God has created them to be, then we're failing not only them, but God and the world, because God has great things for all of us. Who knew? You were talking about John the Baptist. Do you want your kids to go eat bees out in the forest wearing fur, know? We
Yeah.
would miss that.
Yeah, his mom, John the Baptist's mom, probably didn't have that in mind for him. Neither did Moses' mom think that he was going to end up talking to bushes and killing an Egyptian and wandering around in the wilderness for 40 years. Not the ideal situation. But those stories in the Bible have led us to some of the great truths that we have. And so don't be confused or tempted to think that what it is that you've imagined for your child as success is what God would have for your kid. It may look very, very different, and you could really limit things if you choose to imagine their future for them. The last I would say is that the results that you are attempting to have as a parent are skewed. And the reason for that is because you are parenting a very small, adorable little sinner, or multiple sinners in your house. And so if you are going to base your success or failure as a parent off of them, you're already at a loss. Because just as you know about yourself, it's true about your kids too. They can't possibly measure up to whatever the expectations you are. They can't bear that burden of your expectations and what they come to believe are God's expectations based on that. So your results are already skewed. In reality, what leads to those three realities are us believing that we are more of an owner of our kids, rather than realizing that they are a gift that has been given to us and that we are really just tasked with being a representation of grace in their lives. We are supposed to represent who it is that God wants, how he wants himself to be seen and how he wants them to see themselves. And it's just coming back to that grace over and over again. When you think like an owner, you tend to put boundaries around your kids that really shouldn't be there.
Yes, so I've been parenting for a long time, 19 years, and then my youngest is 7, so I'll be doing this for a very long time, okay? But one thing is, when I was 25, I had these absolutes. Like, my child will absolutely never, ever do that. I remember my sister called me and she said, hey, so I had to go because my son's on top of the table and he's marching and he's like it was ruckus. And I was like, oh, my child will never, ever do that.
No, never.
And so now at 45, I've changed the language that I use, and I say things like, perhaps if my child would do that, how would I respond to that?
Yeah, of course, beautifully.
Right? Beautifully. Like, flowers everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the only absolute, I think everyone should probably just have a C account, like just deposit into a C account for all of your children.
A C account?
Yeah, just set aside a C account. It could be for college. It could also be for, counseling. But no one needs to know what the C account is for. But I do think that, setting aside money for it gives you a little peace of mind.
Yeah.
You're going to college or counseling, it's all going to work out.
You see why this is my friend. So yes, setting aside a C account and not creating absolutes for your kids that truthfully, there's no reason for you to do that anyway. We've all set some absolutes that we thought would never be true for us as parents. But as you're attempting to represent grace, so this sounds like real churchy, that sounds great, Heather and Melissa, grace all over the place. How do we actually practically do that? So there's a couple of, I'm sure there's countless ways, but there's a couple of ways I want to suggest today so that you leave here with something in mind. And again, wherever it is you're watching from and whoever you are, please let us know that you're out there. And if you've got ideas as we're talking, then share them with us. There's 3 different things that I feel like you can do to make yourself a better ambassador, more of an ambassador than an owner. And the first is to operate like a coach. Be a coach. Anyone who's ever coached a team knows that in order to be a great coach, you have to understand the sport. You've got to know the game that you're playing, and you need to know your players really well. You're going to need to be able to teach the skills associated with that game. You're going to need to be able to talk fundamentals about the game. And so if you yourself do not understand the grace that is yours to be had for free, how can you possibly impart that to your kids? How can you possibly share that with them? And then the next, after being a coach, is to be a great fan of your kids. I just so happen to have on a football mom t-shirt because I have a kid who plays football for the Pop Warner Trojans. Shout out for those guys. And I love going to practices and games and being a fan of my son. And here's the reality. My son is one of those kids where sometimes they're just trying to make sure he gets all of his plays. But that doesn't matter because he's having a great time. And truthfully, if my identity is in whether or not he's a great football player, then I'm thinking more like an owner. And I'm trying to control who it is that he's becoming. In reality, if I'm in love with him the way that God is in love with him, then my job is just to be a big fan of his. How have you seen that to be true in your kids' lives?
So I was lucky enough that I have 4 kids, so that's a lot of fanning. And so I was just lucky enough to have people built into my kids' lives Because at some point, believe it or not, if you have little ones, you will not know what you're talking about. It happens when they're 12 or 13, would you say?
Yeah.
And so just surrounding yourself and your families and doing life with other people, those people have been just pivotal in my kids' lives, because I knew that when I didn't know what I was talking about, they were going to go talk to so-and-so's mom, and she's going to say the exact same thing that I'm saying in a different way. And so, I mean, there is one mother that one of my children holds on a pedestal, and you know what? I do too. She holds her above me, and that's okay. So,
Yeah, be a whole cheering section for your kid. And if there's something that you see in your kid that needs to be celebrated, don't be surprised if it looks different than what you had in mind. If there's a strength that stands out, if there is a skill that you wouldn't have imagined but comes naturally to your child, find ways and opportunities to actually elevate that and to provide more opportunities for your child to do that. Allow that kid to try out for some teams that you're just convinced might not make the team, but that's not up to you. That's not yours to decide. Those T-ball games can be long, I know, but if they love T-ball, then you are a T-ball fan, so you play T-ball. So be a coach, be a fan, and then the last, it does intentionally rhyme, is be a soft place to land. Every single kid at some point in time, and you know this to be true because you're a human being, is going to mess up. And so if they're going to mess up on a daily basis, first of all, but there's going to be some big failures ahead. We've all had them. And when that happens, having a place, having a person who perhaps is not their parent already in their life that they've been getting to know all along, but definitely having you as a resource and as a place where they know you're not going to freak out. There's an author and a speaker that I follow. His name is Josh Shipp, and he says, no matter what you do, if you got to scream into a pillow, scream into a pillow, but don't freak out on your kids. Just be steady. The best response is, hey, thanks for telling me, or how can I help? Rather than you watching right now, there's some extreme cases where your kid definitely has gone and taken a different path than you thought was possible. And it's hurtful, and it could feel personal. It's definitely hard to watch. But your ability to trust that they're going to be okay and that everything is going to be okay, and to not blame yourself, and to continue to demonstrate grace, and just to be ready, to be that open door, that place that's going to be ready to receive them when they come back. They might not, but they might. And if they do, will they find your door open, and will they find you waiting? I think that there's no parent who wouldn't want that to be the case.
I agree, and I do think that allowing your kid to go through that process and separating yourself is hard. I would say go look in the mirror and try your game face and make sure it looks really good, like practice. Maybe have someone throw some things your kid might say to you, right? And see if their face stays. But the truth is, when your kids walk away, sometimes the only place that you can go to is God, and you have to remember that God loves your kids more than you love your kid. I know that seems unimaginable. Like, how could someone love your kid more than you? God does. And so some days you just have to repeat yourself, God loves him more than I do. God's in charge of him. Yeah, it's hard to let go.
And Melissa, something that you just said reminded me of something that I forgot to say about coaching, and that is, in the beginning, a coach, if you've ever been a part of a small, tiny league of little kid football players, the coach is on the field in the beginning, teaching them the skills and the fundamentals. But as the years progress, same with our parenting, we're kind of forced to back away slowly. And there we are on the sidelines, hoping that the lessons that we taught actually are sticking, hoping that those fundamentals, hoping that God's grace that we've been communicating is actually carrying into our kids' lives. And so as somebody who is working hard to make sure that your kids remember those promises, the best way you can do that is just to point them to God over and over again. Practically, get them a Bible. Spend time reading it with them, talking to them about it, and allowing them to be a part of groups like small groups at church or other places where they feel like they can go and they can unpack some of those truths for themselves. Anything else that you want to add to that?
No, I think you did.
I think if you've hung out with us a while, you know, if you've watched these broadcasts, that we really, really do encourage you building a team of support around your kids, because in reality, you need the same grace that they do. You're going to have times where you're going to mess up, and just remember that when you do, regret is a waste of time. Living in those fears is a waste of time. The best thing that you can do is be intentional today, and to not waste time worrying, well, is it too late? It's never too late to be intentional today. Even if your kid is an adult, it's never too late to be intentional today. It's never too late to, as an adult, spend some time growing in your own relationship with Jesus, because if you're better, everyone around you is going to be better as well. Perhaps the best way to start doing that is to get involved with some of those classes if you're a mom watching this, or if you're a woman watching this. those women's classes that we talked about. I hope we also would love to get you connected with a small group if you're not in one right now. For some of you that might seem uncomfortable, we're really great at letting you try out a whole bunch of groups and seeing which fit would be the best for you. We also have adult classes coming up, and there's a family series that will be starting this weekend called House of Cards, about the illusion of the perfect family, where our lead pastor is going to kick it off, teaching us about how what we believed was going to be the case might not be the case, and how can we actually put that within God's grace. But I would love to know, before I make some announcements about family ministry, who might be watching. Is there somebody who might be watching right now?
I really want those, so if no one is watching.
Yeah, let me, while Kathy's looking, let me tell you what this is. So one of the ways that you can be intentional starting today is something as simple as lunchbox notes or letters to your kid that are written ahead of time. This cute little box is called Read Me When, a collection of future letters to your amazing kid. So obviously this would be a little bit more geared towards an elementary aged kid, writing them some letters for them to be able to read later. But truthfully, kids are never too old for letters.
Have you read the back? It's pretty funny.
No.
It says, like, read me if there's a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, because that could happen.
I mean, I thought I read that. Did I make that up?
She lies. It's okay. It's a different podcast.
We'll find out.
Right. But this is really cute. And so if you are interested in winning this, definitely comment, but you might win it anyway, even if you've just commented and shared some ideas with us. What are some ways that you can be intentional with your kids? Let me tell you what else is going on with family ministry real fast. If you have a child who's a part of high school ministry, small groups are kicked off. They're rolling right now. We have a dodgeball tournament coming up on September 25th. You can get all information about both of those things and anything else you want to know on our Hope Student Ministry app. If you're married, it is not too late actually to sign up for Reengage. We have 350 plus people already signed up, but there's still some spots for you. Are you?
Yeah.
If you act quickly, there's five more couple spots for the Morrisville campus. Wow. And a waiting list of the others. You can go to gethope.net/reengage to sign up for that. If you are a family who has a child with special needs, you can join in with some other parents for Parents Night Out. The fall season starts on September 27th at the Raleigh campus. Again, gethope.net for more information. And from our middle school ministry team, middle school ministry is awesome. MSM is awesome. Squad nights are back every Tuesday, and small groups are helping students to grow closer to Jesus. I have one of those students, so I know that that's true. You can help your student by showing up consistently to develop that community. Go to gethope.net/MSM for more squad night details. And if you had a 7th or 8th grader who was going to camp this weekend, please check your email. With the storm that's upcoming, there has been some updated information that you're going to need to know. So you can check your email, or you can go onto the Student Ministry app for more information about that as well. Did we miss anything?
Are we good?
You're good?
We solved the problems. We're good.
We solved all the problems, guys.
You're welcome.
Tune in next month for us to solve more problems, and please help us solve some problems by sharing your suggestions with us. We love y'all.
Bye.